Yo, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel. I wanted to make this video for educational purposes in case anybody is having this issue that I am having, and hopefully it prevents you from having this issue if you end up buying a new belt for your M45. Now, long story short is I have a new motor and the M45 that has about 60,000 miles on it. My previous motor had about 200,000 miles on it, so a lot of the parts were old and need to be replaced. Now, I had made a video before where I replaced the belt tensioner pulley for like the water pump and stuff like that. I replaced that pulley because it was making noise. Now, I already had a belt on there that looked brand new, but the belt is not the correct size for the motor. Now, I'm going to show you guys what I mean right now, and I actually have two examples of bad belts that do not work for this car to avoid purchasing. Now, the belt that I actually have two of them because the previous belt was the same belt that I purchased, and it looks like the previous owner had purchased the same exact belt from AutoZone. So I have heard a lot of people say only buy OEM parts, only buy OEM parts, which is true. You should really stay, focused on just buying OEM parts for the M45. But, some things are not accessible or as cheap to get, especially like a belt. I checked around my area at my local INFINITI stores, and nobody had the belt in stock, and they wanted, I think it's $140 just for this belt. $140, and online it's like $74, $80, and I don't think that includes shipping. You might want to add another $10 to $20 on top of that to ship out a belt. So it's an expensive belt, an OEM one. Now, AutoZone has a cheap one. I think it was like 15 to like 20 bucks for this Continental belt. Let me show you the belt here really quick. All right, so here are the belts. I have two of them. I have this one right here that reads Continental. One is the old belt that the motor already had when I purchased the car. Here you can see it says Continental right there. It's kind of fading out. And then this one right here is the same brand as well, but I had purchased a brand new one thinking that, my belt was bad. But the belt itself is not good for this car. And now I'll show you right now exactly why. Here you can see Continental as well, same exact belt, same part number as well. Now let me show you the belt on the car right now, which is a Gates that I picked up from O'Reilly's, which is about $30. Now this one right here, you can see that if it's on there perfect, and then right there, if you look at those lines, it's reading right above the middle portion, which is where you want it at. Now I'm going to go ahead and remove this belt, and I'm going to install the other belt on here as well, so you guys can see the difference when it comes to that and this belt right here. Now to remove the belt, it's really straightforward. Just grab a 14mm socket, put a breaker bar to loosen it, just like that, and then pull the belt off of the pulley. Alright, just like that, it's off. Alright, so here's this one. You can see it says right there, Gates. I actually have not driven with this belt yet. I just tested it on, and here's the part number. Now, if you put these side by side, honestly, they look exactly the same. Like, even if you put them down and you step on it, they're almost exactly the same. Now, when you actually install it, the Gates one is a lot tighter versus the Continental one. Now, let's go ahead and place the Continental one on there. Alright, so here is the Continental belt installed. Right there, you can see the name. And then now, if you look at the little lines at the back, it's all the way at the end now, which means that it's really loose, and you need to adjust it or get a new belt in order for it to be in the middle. It's not good to have it all the way at the back. Now the reason for that is because there's not enough tension on the belt and the pulleys. And you can see everything's on there good. Nothing is out of place. Nothing is off of the ribs. it's completely aligned and in place where it should be at. Now, the issue with this belt is, yes, it's on there, it's going to spin the pulleys, but it's not going to have enough pressure, and it begins to make noise because the back of the tensioner starts to hit right there. So where that line's at, it starts to hit it and it makes noise, and it sounds like it's the pulley, but it's actually the tensioner making noise. Now keep in mind that when I purchased this belt, it was still very loose from factory. It was maybe a little bit tighter, but still loose. There, if you look at it really closely, you can see a little bit of movement right there in the back. Right now it's not making noise, but it will most likely pick up in a little bit. But it starts to make noise like if the pulley is bad, but it's actually the belt that's not holding enough tension. And then if you grab a socket and you place it right in there while the car is in drive, and or when it's making noise, and you move it a little bit to the left side, it stopped making the noise completely. And that's how I kind of knew that it was the belt that wasn't holding enough tension to stop it from making noise. Right now it's completely quiet, and I think it's because I just barely put the belt on, but once you drive it for a while, it begins to make noise. This belt does come extremely loose when you install it, because I do remember that I was really close to the bottom when I initially bought the belt. So this is not just something that happened after. Of course, I drove the car for a little bit. I've only had this car for a few thousand miles. I don't think it's even been over 10K or even 5K. So this is a very new belt, hasn't been used at all, and it was already that loose when I purchased it. Now, also another thing that you'll notice is if you push on this side right here, it goes all the way down and hits the other pulley. So that's how loose this belt is, and doesn't have a lot of tension. As you can see, it's moving quite a bit. So let's go ahead and remove this belt, put the other one back on. Alright guys, so here's the Gates belt installed again, and right there you can see the line went back to the top where it was initially, and it's not as loose as it was before. Now if you press on the belt, as you guys can see, it has a lot more tension versus the previous one. It doesn't go all the way down. And then we're going to go ahead and turn it on to see if it makes any noise. But hopefully this helps you guys out if you're experiencing issues with your tensioner pulley and you think that it's the tensioner pulley. It might just be your belt if you picked up a belt like this, or your belt is too loose. And this may cause other issues as well, such as belt slipping. I will be honest with you, just the other day when I went to go ahead and check on my car and my engine, because it was getting, a little bit hot, I noticed that the belt was actually slipping on this part right here, and it wasn't actually seated correctly, and it was like on top of the rib over here. So it could cause slipping as well, which is not good. And then if it slips too far out, it could end up ripping the belt, and then you'll be left without a belt, which is bad. It's not going to run the alternator. On top of that, it's not going to run your water pump, and then it's going to overheat your car very quickly. Your AC won't work. None of your accessories will work at that point. So yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and put this back on, and then we'll run it and see how this belt does versus the Continental one. Alright guys, so we're gonna go ahead and end the video right there. Hopefully this helps any of you guys out that ended up purchasing this belt. The reason I got this one is because I went to AutoZone and I just asked for that specific belt for the M45, and that's the one they gave me. And I was trying to rule out a few issues with the M45 where the belt tensioner kept making noise, and I thought by replacing the belt that would fix it. I bought this new belt and then I ruled that out, but I didn't think to check to make sure that the tension was appropriate on the car. So I think this will help a lot of you guys out that are having this issue, because I think I have seen in the forum where somebody said that they just replaced their belt and they still have a noise. This is exactly why you're most likely having that noise. Unless you haven't replaced the pulley itself, it might be the belt that's too loose. And as you guys saw, the belts are almost like the exact same size. I think the issue with the Continental belt is the type of material that it's made of. It kind of stretches out a little bit more than the Gates one. So I think that's the main issue with that belt is the amount of stretch that it has. So once you install it, it stretches it out too far where it's now loose. But I had two of these belts, both of them had the same exact issue. Now I purchased the gates. I did go ahead and drive the car, no issues whatsoever, and the sound that I had went away. But yeah, that's it. I did pick up another Hot Wheel. I got this one right here. Not sure if you guys can really see it, but it's the S15 Nissan Silvia. So the collection is growing with my premiums. As you guys can see, it's getting huge. I picked up quite a few cars. I even recently picked up that Mustang right there, the Slide Street, and then a few Fast and Furious. So I'm trying to make that grow. I think the premiums I do want to keep on that side. So I'll most likely be removing some of like the regular cars and just leaving the premiums on this side. And then on this side over here, just leaving a bunch of like the main lines and stuff like that. But that's going to conclude the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure to like, subscribe, hit that bell notification, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.